We need a jingle.
Dun, 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 dun.
Everybody pull your mics in close.
How close
They need to
do
be pretty
to
close.
be?
Like that.
Is that too close?
No, perfect. Welcome to the pod, everybody. This is the State of the Social podcast, our first ever episode. On this fine day, it's September 2022.
I think I'm breathing into the microphone.
It's okay, you're allowed to breathe. We want everybody breathing.
Off to a great start.
Closed mouth breathing preferred. So we don't have structure for this first episode. We do, but not to the point. We just are throwing shit at the wall here. We want to see what sticks. We do have a structure, let me just say that.
But what structure will follow today is
we're not
a
sure.
mystery.
Yeah. So
how about we introduce ourselves for the fine listeners at home?
Intros. Why don't you start since you
Me?
own this thing?
Oh no. Hi, I'm Paige. As a crew, our day jobs, we're a social media agency. They work for me. I was gonna say we work for, but the truth is I work for me as well. But we are a full service social media agency. So in terms of qualifying us to discuss this topic, I think we are the most qualified because day in and day out, we are in the world of social media for our clients. We also have an educational arm of content. So for other social media professionals, I didn't even say the names. Does it matter? Doesn't matter. You don't need to know us, I guess.
We'll get into that in another episode.
You just need to know that
Don't worry about that. Just know that we're qualified.
Yeah, we're not making not making it up, basically.
We're not making it up.
Anyway, I'm Paige.
COO, boss,
CEO,
HR.
actually.
Did I not say that?
You're
CEO?
COO. You're good at that, though.
You're our boss. You run everything. You are great.
Chief being in charge officer.
Yes. The brilliant mind behind it all. I am.
My favorite social media platform is none.
That's not true. Pick one.
TikTok. At the moment, it's TikTok.
I was gonna say you gotta pick the one that we all want to say, and then pick that one. So that we
Sorry.
have to say something else. Okay, I have my one. I'm Raya. I'm the COO of our company. I love to make videos for social media. So while that's not my main job, it's my favorite job at our company is making Reels and TikToks for our clients. And there was another thing I was gonna say. Oh, my favorite social media platform is BeReal currently.
Oh, you are a Be Real stan.
I love to react to people's BeReals the most. It's
You
my favorite
do,
feature.
actually.
And I want every other social media platform to follow the lead of letting me just take a quick picture of myself and reacting that way.
Yeah.
Because that's my favorite.
That's good.
Michaela.
Hello, my name is Michaela, aka Young Jamie of this podcast. I am a content creator. What's my role title again?
Account manager.
Account manager.
I don't even know.
Wow. We're
Okay.
really making the case that we are experts in the field. Account director.
Account manager. Oh, account director.
She directs
Duh,
with True Direction.
Yes,
do.
True Direction in this session. A little bit about me. I love to create content. I love to consume content. And my favorite is going to be TikTok as well.
Yeah.
Copy page.
Fair enough. I should also say that of the three of us, I am happy to raise my hand as the least active content creator myself. I shitpost a lot, but I don't make if you want to see really good content, Raya and Michaela have it on lock. If you want to see musings of the inside of my brain,
Paige is the
Then
queen of
that's what you'll
relatable content.
no, you didn't have to say that. That's so nice.
Agreed.
But I say that to say, when I say TikTok's my favorite, I do mean consuming. I do not mean creating. I don't mind making a TikTok, but I could scroll for hours, baby.
Yeah.
It's the Wild West out there.
In fact, we do scroll for hours, which is in part why we're also very qualified to
Yeah.
talk about this podcast.
Actually, I feel like we should maybe say why we're doing this because
Yeah, I was gonna read our description. I was gonna read our little description.
I think do that, and then I have something to say about our description as well. So we're coming in with a hot take already.
I love it.
Go.
Okay, let me get my broadcasting voice on. Let's cut the shit. Working in social media can be a little unhinged. This podcast is a space for social pros to get real about the good, bad, and ugly of working in social. If you're looking for best practices, you won't get that here. But you will find real, raw, unfiltered takes on what it's like to work in a field that changes faster than the speed of the internet. From a real social media agency team. So, I really messed up that grammar there, but
That's
So pull up a chair, crack open a cold one, and join us to connect about working in social media for what it really is, a wild ride from start to finish. Thanks, everybody.
Freya used to be in television and production.
Yep.
You don't have to explain that. You can just let that simmer. Don't tell the internet the truth behind that statement because I gave them the truth. You did work in television.
Mm-hmm.
High school television.
I'm feeling happening on
CCTV,
channel
perhaps.
6 on Comcast.
My hot take was that I wanted to say, so, you know, we sat around talking about how to describe the podcast mostly because you have to put a description in on the podcast.
That's like one of the tasks.
And we noodle on this for like, I think we can all agree it took us probably a little too long to write this description. Well, one, because it was the first time we were like talking about this out loud, but also because it's like hard to describe yourself all the time, even when it's like a project you're doing. But the thing that like, that I wanted my hot take here, basically, is that honestly, like even writing the description was hard because I feel like part of the reason we started this format is because working in social, it is so external facing.
Yeah.
And like when you talk about your work with people, even people who know what you do, like fellow social media managers or other people who work in like communications or people who like think they work in social media, you know, PR, stuff like that. There's so much like posturing in social media, you know, like at the end of the day, like we are experts at this, but having expertise and being an expert is two different things. And I think a lot of times we're asked as social media managers to prove our expertise rather than just be an expert, like period. So like you get into conversations about this with other people who do the work and stuff, and like it's a lot of like, I don't know, like feather fluffing and like like my, you know, you can't say you work in social without somebody wanting to see the accounts you work on, first of all, right? Second of all, like imposter syndrome shows up for me immediately because it's like, we have as a collective agency at one point in time we had at once 22 clients.
Yeah.
That is not a coincidence. It's not like we are paid to do that, like because we're good at it. So, but why, when I'm on the spot talking about my job, does it feel like awkward and weird and I don't know how to like prove that I'm good at it? I don't know. I don't know why I feel the need to prove that I'm good at it.
Yeah.
All this to say, so much of what we talk about is so like, I don't know, it just has like this air about it that's like we're talking about like the very high level of social media and like, oh, the metrics and the output and the trends. Even that for me, I'm like, that is so, it's part of what we do, but it's not all of it. And none of that gets to the fact that working in social is like, it has its own challenges. Every job does, but like, it's not easy. Mental wellness in this field is really hard to maintain because Raya, you were talking about this earlier. We're asked to be like chronically online in order to be good at this job.
Yes.
And we're gonna dig into that. That is the point of this podcast, is to dig into all of that. But I wanted to say all that to say that like that's why we decided to like create this, and I think why it was hard to write that description and stuff is because it's like we can like try to polish that up all we want and talk about like why there's any value in listening to this, but point blank, like we're making this because if we feel the need to have to talk about, you know, all parts of being a social media manager, the great parts, the parts that nobody knows about unless you work in the field, the parts that are challenging, the parts that are like crazy because they're unprecedented, like it clearly there's a need to have that space for us to talk about, and we want this to be a space where other people, I think I can speak for all of us when I say this, to be a space where you can feel heard and validated and also be able to join this conversation because everyone needs this like you know, group therapy of it all.
Because it's multifaceted, this industry. It's not only one that's very new and ever changing. I mean, like Paige and I went to Temple University, and I was a few years behind you, and even the year I was leaving and graduating, they were just kind of forming a major that had the word social media in it, but still the major itself was not like, you cannot go to school and learn social media. Like, so it's twofold, right? Because you can't learn it in school, really. But then there's this oversaturation of like, become a social media manager, like anybody can do it, like here's my starter pack on Etsy, like, you know, there's this double-edged sword. Like there's not really a higher education way to get into the industry, and it seems so easy to get into it when you see all these, you know, creators out here selling kits and to become a social media manager, and here's how to batch all this content in 1 hour, like all this stuff. So it's like, okay, so you find your way into the industry, whether it's one way or another, and then what? like it's very isolating and lonely once you're in it. So whether you do enter it the easy way and then you decide, oh, it's actually not that easy, like I just spent all this money on templates and courses and I actually don't know what I'm doing, like there's a lot of that. So there's not a lot of space to like have commonality with others in the industry, because another thing about this is it's very seldom, unless you're working for an agency, do you find that a social media manager is a team. It's usually one person at a company.
True.
So where do you go to ask the dumb questions, or to ask the questions that just seem like really, like you don't even know what to Google because they're so intricate? Or just common experiences of being in the world of social that, like you said, being chronically online. You were just talking earlier, like this Labor Day weekend, today is the Tuesday after Labor Day weekend, and if we were to just shut down all weekend, we would have missed so many trends that have already come and gone.
Which frankly may never see the light of day in content that we make, but we have to
have the context.
Yeah, and if we don't know about it, then how can we know if it works for clients or not? / how can we, even stay on top of it if we're like fully unplugged? But then like the fine balance of also wanting to fully unplug.
Yes.
And wanting to be able to step away.
It's like how we have no rule book, we have no guide, we have no experts who've been doing this for 20 years because it's all new. Like, so that's really what this space is. We've already been doing that in various forms of our business. We have a Slack channel for creatives that is a space for people to come and ask those questions. But, us as people who like to consume content, like to strategize social media content, we in our meetings all the time just find ourselves talking about this stuff. So we said, why don't we start a podcast and start talking about this stuff into a microphone where other people might be able to relate to. So that's kind of
and hopefully it's interesting, and if it's not, then this is just for us, but that's all right too.
It's fine too.
And we also have our mastermind, Michaela, who is going to lead us valiantly through the podcast landscape.
Hello.
I would consider you the most plugged in podcast listener that I know.
I think
Yes, I am a huge fan of podcasts.
Can just for the one time, give us your short list of the podcasts that you're listening to today.
Okay, I will give you my top 3.
All right.
I love Brooke and Connor make a podcast. Hey, Brooke and Connor, if you ever listen to
Lady
this.
Efron.
I also really love Tiny Meat Gang, Cody Ko and Noel.
Stuff.
They are both, those 2 podcasts are under the Tiny Meat Gang Studios. And of course, I do love my Joe Rogan podcast.
A controversial king.
Yes, he is very much a controversial king. And okay, I'll give you the 4th one that I've been really listening to. This past weekend with Theo Vaughn.
Oh.
Love that man.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That one I've never listened to, so I will add that to my list.
That one goes
It's
left,
amazing.
right, and all over the place. And then we don't even mean that politically. I mean, like, he's all over the place.
Oh, he's a
ping-pong.
chaotic man. I love
Like,
it.
he'll give structure to it, and then he'll be like, yeah, like one time I was down at the creek and and I discovered, like, it's just like, wow, okay.
So basically,
Exactly.
how far off can we be
Mhm.
in that case?
Yes, exactly.
Good. Very good.
And we're cool at the end of the day. We're just like funny and fun, cool.
Cool, fun, funny, smart.
So I think you all just
Supersonic.
like to hang out with us. We do have,
Speaking of structure.
yeah, we do a little structure here, and so Paige.
Yeah.
Would you like to tell us about what you were saying earlier about your worlds colliding, what you've been, your creators you like to listen to, and the niche they've been finding themselves in?
Because here's I'll caveat all this by saying, I do think that it's pretty fucked up that like my way of detoxing and my way of unplugging is to like consume content about in or around the world of my work. Like that is fully what brings me joy, but it's also, I recognize, not detaching from work, and like as much as I would like to say that it is. So like hilarious that I just sat here and we talked about all this, and I'm gonna be like, here's what I was doing for fun on my Labor Day weekend. But it's true. So I think, so in terms of like industry, social media, that's the other thing too. Like I feel like we haven't, just like full transparency, this group here, our audience is like other social media managers. We still haven't figured out a way to like neatly talk about that. Like, is it social pros? Is it social creatives? Is it content creators? Because that's very, like a content creator, like a Connor and Brooke versus us. We're very different, but like we do work in the same universe, like our fields overlap. So like that, I don't know, that's fascinating to me that like we haven't figured out a way to like talk to the same audience.
And it's not like just social media managers, because
Not everyone's that people.
It's all unwritten.
It is. So anyway, all that to say, I think that space, the whole space of like the creator economy, anyone that sort of makes a business out of being online and creating content, which very often takes shape on social media platforms, is fascinating. And I think two of the smartest brains out there that are dissecting the business of it and getting really meta about, no pun intended, about that world are Colin and Samir, who I have been following for feels like forever, but I think who are really finding their footing right now in terms of, so they create content. And that content is about the world of like, you know, creators and how they're successful as business people and sort of the creator economy. And so they've done a lot of content over the years. We saw them at VidCon. Love them. But they started a new sort of format where they're doing like long form sit down interviews, like this kind of format, with really prolific creators. So, you know, they had a really great series with Mr. Beast, multiple parts to that. They just did TMG, so haven't listened to it, but will be. And the one that I watched this weekend, it was over an hour long. I actually watched it with my husband. It was their sit down interview with Rhett and Link of Good Mythical Morning, Mythical, the company. So for me, that was like worlds colliding, because it shouldn't be a surprise to me that I wound up working in social media in the end, because like as a kid, I was like must consume all digital content, like the original YouTube days. Like I was probably like user number 1 or whatever.
Paige was an OG.
Trisha
YouTube
Paytas would
girl.
say probably that she beat me to being on YouTube, which is probably true, but I was not far behind Miss Paytas, I will not lie to you. Yeah, love it forever. So I remember the days of Rhett and Link before like they were as they are today, and I was, you know, a child at the time. But so to have like my two favorite sort of like commentators of this world kind of talking to who I would consider like the kings of content as a job, Rhett and Link, because they went from, you know, creating content, the two of them, to growing into a really like a media company, which, you know, creators being the sort of will become the next media companies out there. I think that's absolutely true. This breakdown that they did, like an hour-long conversation, fascinating in every way. First of all, go watch it. I'm not even going to attempt to paraphrase or give like the rundown because there was so much there. But for me, it was like so fascinating to listen to how like Colin and Samira were asking the questions that I would ask if I were sitting across the table from Rhett and Link, which would be like actually, how did you get here? Like, what was the jump from like production studio in your garage to having many salaried team members? And maybe I selfishly want to know those answers because I have, you know, growing a social media agency, like I went from just me to like you guys, and that's crazy. But also I just think it mirrors our industry so much, right? Like social media went from like our business has a Facebook page to businesses are now sentient brands like online. And like that jump didn't happen overnight. It had to have happened gradually. I was obviously aware that it was happening, but we're in the heart of it right now. We'll look back on right now in 5 years and be like, holy, remember that? But like you can't see it when it's up close, like and especially when you work in it, I feel like. So I don't know, I just love the zooming out of like the talking about it, breaking it down from like, because they happen to have, maybe this is my point, it's like, you know, this industry is so new, so brand new. Every day it changes. Every day it, you know, what we're expected to know and do as practitioners in social media changes. And we don't have a ton of people to look to be like, okay, how have you endured 20 years in this field? You know, it's not like law or accounting where we can be like, mentor. Because even our mentors, right? Like I have mentors in the space for sure, but they were dealing with a different social media than I'm dealing with and vice versa. So like how much can we really help each other? In the broad sense, yes. In the tactical sense, we don't even, like we have conversations every day about like the literal day-to-day changes. Like when I wake up to a notification that Mr. Adam or whatever his name is from Instagram has made a new video explaining new changes to the Instagram algorithm, like I don't want to open it because I'd really rather not know like what I'll be expected to answer up to as a social media practitioner to my peers and clients, and also like feeling like you have to have an opinion on something. But so for me, I think like the real magic of watching this conversation, to bring it back to my original point, is that this is an example of two guys who have been around and endured the creator economy, social media since like the dawn of it happening. And so you can actually look to them as like lessons learned if you know, that's like as best as we can get to like an elder in this world, you know what I mean?
I would almost say too, while you were talking, it made me realize that this is one of the only industries that we look to younger people to teach us what to do next.
100%. It's
Like-
the only reason I work in social.
Yeah, because I'm thinking of, like, when you said, oh, my mentor, I was like, my mentor, not mentor, the person I look up to the most right now in terms of our industry is Zaria. I talk about her all the
Yeah.
time, the lady behind Duolingo. But I think she's younger than, I think
Yeah.
she's like 23,
24.
And so, like, that's kind of wild. And then there's, I mean, there's a lot of other people that I look up to say, like, oh, teach me your ways. Like, that's what the next generation is doing. I even have the thought before cross my mind where I've seen a video my niece made who's 13. And she did it, and I showed you guys. It was like that fun, like, editing style where like the words pop up with the lyrics. But I like saw that and I was like, oh, I'm gonna keep in mind because if this starts to pop off, like I'm gonna commission her to make these for our clients. Like it's cool to see the younger generation like adapting quicker and creating the pathway like before we even can catch on. And so I think that's really inspiring. It's definitely one that you have to check the ego at the door for because you're looking to younger creatives and usually that can be really like intimidating. Not intimidating. What's the word I'm looking for? Like
Yeah, usually that has some sort of
Intimidating or
inherent,
something.
like
you don't know what you're doing because you
Yeah.
have to ask someone younger, but that's just not the case.
No. In
Which
fact,
is
we should
inspiring.
all be solid note for the whole universe. Take notes from the current, like the Gen Zs of the world, because first of all, they're smart. Second of all, if you want to talk about, like natives, like they're native to the landscape of social media. I don't even consider myself to be that. Like I remember when I remember when Facebook was only for, it was so crotchety of me. I remember when you had to have a school ID.
.edu.
Yeah. I
True
do though, and I
Yeah.
remember when, like for me, it was like when you got to high school, that's when you could have a Facebook. Like that was the rule of thumb that everyone followed. Nowadays, like kids wouldn't even bother, but like
Right.
that's how it was. So yeah, if anyone knows what's going on, look to them. Also,
Yeah.
I am a product of that scenario, 100%. I went to school for PR. I had no intention of working in social media up until pretty much the day I started working in social full time. I was saying to people who would ask, I would never work in social media full time because it's very emotionally taxing. I learned that because I was working in an agency where very often myself and others, it wasn't just me, but myself and others who were the youngest around the table, for good reason, were being asked to weigh in on social media campaign ideas, trends, like how do we capitalize on social and I loved that because I thought it was easy and innate for me to like talk about that kind of stuff, but it was not what I came to the working world wanting to do. It was just a byproduct of being able to occupy that special space of like, yeah, I do know a little bit about social more than maybe like generations above me, just because I have been on it longer and I'm more integrated and I can see the content that's coming out.
Yeah.
So it was only because of that I ever ended up, sharpening my skill set basically. And then, because I would also say too, like, maybe this is for another segment, but my biggest gripe around social is that there is a belief that like, and that it's, I cannot stand the like, oh, what intern is running this account? Like, I promise you, it's somebody with a big giant brain running that account and not an intern.
Yeah.
So,
And if it is an intern, promote them because that is not an easy job.
and don't ever reduce like a full task to like just like a throwaway thing that you like give to someone.
True.
Yeah.
Because even the silliest, most like menial like social media content, when done right, has a lot of thought behind it, and probably a lot of approvals, and probably a lot of like we do a ton of work, which this is not a complaint about this, but it's just part of this job. You know what I mean? Like, oftentimes, like we're hired to come into spaces where the point is that they don't know how to speak the social media language, and the point is that we do, but that doesn't make it easier to get the approvals we need or the sign off we need to do what we do. Like, just because they know we know and that we know they don't know doesn't mean that we don't have to still get them to a point where they understand enough to be able to say yes. So we have to do a lot of educating.
So much. It's like, it's sometimes annoying because it's like, well, in no other fucking industry are you going to hire a professional and then need them to explain why their services are needed or valid in the middle of the contract. Like, that's not a thing you'll find anywhere else. So it's very frustrating, but understandable.
Yeah.
Because it's such a, I mean, we just had it a few weeks ago with, like, we had to explain to a client, like, why partnerships were important and how they can grow a brand even though it's something we've been talking about for a while, but when it came up to like sending the pitches and looking at the media kit, it was like, hold on, wait, remind me again why this is important.
Which that is, I think that, like, I don't mind that usually, you know what I mean? But to your point, like, when I think I have learned my lesson that when I hear clients say, we want to be different, we want to be innovative, we want to break the mold, they don't really mean that like we would mean that. You know what I mean? They mean that in just by thinking about being on social, they're breaking the mold, maybe, depending on what industry they're in. Not that they're going to do the corn song, you know, trend or like there's a big gap there, right? Like, and so like what they think is breaking the mold is not what we would think is breaking the mold. So when we come to the table with those ideas that are like, it can be trend stuff, but it can also be big stuff. Like right now in our industry, we're talking about a huge shift to video. That like video is going to replace the static graphic. I mean, it already is. I think we can agree on that. But that conversation is even hard because like that's not resources that were baked into people's budgets a long time ago. Like even when they went to hire us, like they don't have someone willing to be on video. You know what I mean? Like, and we can't be everybody's person on their TikToks. So
or even like the whole sole idea of like what does their content if they used to do photo based, like what does that look like in video? Like it's even we're having a hard time like converting them onto just co-signing for the idea of video. We've had some clients say, you know what, it's okay, just keep doing photo because I can't even wrap my mind around like what it would look like to be video right now, even though we're here to support them. And
even with us saying like metrics wise, here's why, you know, it's a sinking ship to keep doing video. But also, you know,
but it can be overwhelming if you're not in the world.
Yeah,
and totally. It is overwhelming when you're in the world, which is why we need to help each other out.
100%. I don't know. There's a lot to unpack here, I think, about being in social because on the other side of it too, like we were talking about it earlier, like this is a place for us to bitch, but not in a negative way, in a productive way. You know what I mean? Because I think what is cool is when you strike gold in this field, I think everyone knows this. Like it is intoxicating to do well in social for a client or like for a project. It's also even better when like an idea that you had that wasn't like that's maybe not obvious. You know what I mean? Like you're like, oh, I'm testing something here. I'm not sure that this is gonna exactly work or not, and then it does. For me, that's like gold.
At the video shoot, Michaela and I made it the last content shoot we were at. That one was not. We knew it was a good idea, but we were not expecting it to actually work. Yeah, people were mad.
Explain the trend a little bit.
Okay, yeah. So you do it. It was your idea. Was it your idea?
So I don't forget whose it was, but essentially, it was showcasing the background, like what it looks like when someone is filming content. So like the trend that we were following was specifically of this guy looking like he was getting really cool shots of like a car, and he just looked really crazy doing it, like just moving his arms in a really fast-paced motion. It just didn't really, you could tell the shots weren't going to turn out right. Okay. So but then it actually showed the shots, and it was all satire, like it was just jokes, but we decided to do that at our recent client shoot, and people thought we were being serious.
Because we did it in two parts. The first part was, it was like, here, like this is the behind the scenes of how we get the shot, and it's like for part two to see what it looks like, and then part two was just like terrible, and people were so mad. They did not get it in the comments. They were like, are you kidding me? People pay you for this? This is terrible. But here's the gag. People didn't get it on Instagram Reels. They got it on TikTok. So I don't know what that says about the viewership.
It just reinforces that trend that's like Reels just found out about Ian and Chris breaking up or whatever.
Yes, it just reinforces that. It's like you don't know the trend yet. So I'm gonna switch us into our last segment here to wrap up our very first podcast episode. And this segment is self-made conspiracies. We love conspiracies. We're very big conspiracy theorists, but you know, with critical thinking. The conspiracy I'd like to bring to the table today is one that we've had an inkling for a while. We have multiple client accounts on TikTok that we post for, including our own through the Hive Connective. Give us a follow. And we think that if you are posting, multiple people are posting on one account, we have a conspiracy that deters the account from performing well in the algorithm, because we all are logged into client accounts, the same ones, and sometimes I'll post on behalf of the client, sometimes Michaela will post on behalf of the client, and then on our personal account, we're all posting all the time. So we're curious if this is something you've run into. If you have multiple people on a team posting for a client versus one person posting for a client, do you see a difference? Ladies, do you have anything to say about this little conspiracy?
Yes. I would add that we do, through the grapevine, we do have sort of confirmation that TikTok is affiliated with your device, like the device that you're logged in on. I say that because like I'll be logged into like 5 accounts at one time, like personal, ours, and then some clients.
Yep.
And the For You pages, while different, sometimes overlap. Like sometimes I'll get stuff on my FYP that's definitely associated with a brand account that I'm logged into. There's still a differentiation, but it definitely overlaps. And we've also kind of, I think it's been confirmed, I'm not sure, that it is associated with your device, like your account itself.
Right.
So if your account is logged in on multiple devices, that can be considered suspicious activity.
So like if we have Hive connected TikTok logged in
On your phone, my
laptop, phone, iPad, your phone.
But I don't know how it goes from multiple devices to suspicious activity because we've never gotten like a warning or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
The theory is really that it's impacting performance, which
Yes.
I stand by, because also I feel like on previous successful accounts that we've built, like there was definitely like when you posted the videos, generally speaking, had a higher baseline than when I would post them, kind of thing.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Like same content edited outside of the app even, but like depending on which device was posting it, it would just do a little better overall or be seen more. And there was also a brief moment where one of our accounts, which we were all logged in on, was not, the videos weren't being served at all.
Yeah.
So that's, maybe I'm just adding more context here, but these are reasons why we think this has something to do with
And
people and devices and number of logins.
so because these are the reasons we think, what we're going to be doing as a team to try to test out this theory is only one of us will be posting for each client. So even though we all make content for all kinds of all clients that we have, only one person will be assigned the poster. Where that leads difficult for us is our company account, because the nice thing is like when we all have an idea, we just go on and do it and post. So now it's going to be a little bit of a rework because they're going to have to like make them and then like send them to me if I'm the sole poster for the account, which is kind of annoying. But we're going to shift our ways a little bit and do a little bit of testing for the next month and see if we see any immediate changes. But it's definitely something interesting to consider. And
I like our workaround, by the way, because I did hear that the suggested workaround is to run, if it's a business account, which is, they're assuming when most people would have multiple logins, to run it through the business manager, but that on TikTok. But that means being an actual business account, which means limited access to sounds. And you know, I will not say I'm dying on a lot of hills, but I will die on that hill. Like, I'm not giving up the user features for an account just to make it business. Like, I know that they want me to, but it's not happening.
No.
Maybe this podcast is going to become a place where I just sort of bully the platforms into doing what we want.
Let's do it.
I'm not afraid.
I'm not afraid.
Zuck.
Let's go. No, but I think those are great points, and we're going to report back on what we find.
But if you have any findings,
if you have any findings or any workarounds, we threw out.
Tell Michaela.
Let me know.
Email hello@hive.connect. We need an email for the podcast.
Yeah. And I'm just gonna make that blanket statement that all communication can be directed at Michaela, because she's easily the smartest of the three of us on these couches, and she is the gatekeeper of the podcast. So
She is.
And I will
send it her way.
And she's a
any
Scorpio.
questions, comments.
I don't know what that means, but
I am a Scorpio.
You heard it here first.
Paige is Cancer and I'm a Sagittarius.
Probably no one's surprised by
Wait,
this.
real quick. What's your moon signs? For the audience, they want to know.
I am a Virgo moon, Aquarius rising.
Beautiful.
I'm also Aquarius rising.
I think that many of us might be. I forget which one is like sort of the same for your age group.
Oh, that's Saturn.
Yes.
Is one of them.
And Mercury.
Uranus.
Talking about
Other planets are like it would only change every like 7 years, so like probably we would all have the same.
There are some generational ones.
Yeah.
But like Mercury, Moon, Venus, Mars, they're all in specific ones based on the time you were born.
which I also have an identity crisis around because I knew my time of birth and then got a copy of my birth certificate and it says a different time.
No.
It says the same time, but AM instead
That
of
is
PM.
a huge difference.
Which my mom heartily objects to. She says, no, the time she told me is correct. The time on the birth certificate is wrong. And I'm actually inclined to believe her because guess what else is wrong? My dad's name. Dun, dun, dun. It's just his middle name, but still, I am his child.
I am
But,
his father.
Yeah, it says Patricia instead of Patrick. So I'm really feeling like I don't trust the document, to be honest. Whoever was writing it was distracted.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, all that to say, I stand by my signs. I
Yeah.
believe my chart is correct. Yeah, but
That's impactful.
derailed.
That's okay. We do that sometimes.
Welcome to the world.
Welcome
of
to
derailments.
the State of Social Podcast.
Basically, what I heard today is that I'm officially using this to bully platforms into doing things we want.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
That's my
think
new
that's so
decision.
important. I mean, we
I
are the
love
consumers, the
bully
people
the
that
big
will.
guy.
Yeah.
my hope is that this podcast can be like Dumois meets industry news updates.
Yeah.
Like if there is gossip to be had about the world of social media, you'll hear it. From me.
What is it called? I was gonna say they spelled byline. What is it called? The Dumois, like when they have a tip,
A blind item.
a blind item. We will do
Here's your
blind
first
items
blind item.
on whenever we find out tea from the back end of TikTok.
Yeah. I wanted to say that the Zuck of TikTok wanted to say their name, but I admittedly don't know who that is. So
That's okay.
big TikTok giant, we're coming for you. Just
Yeah.
kidding.
We're not
Favorite
coming
account.
for you, but we are gonna hold you accountable.
Yeah, that's all it is. It's just a little bit of public accountability.
Yeah, because in an industry that's very unwritten, we're here to be the Natasha Benningfield. You write it for us.
The
Go in
rest
there.
is still unwritten.
Yeah, who knows where we'll take this, but we've got a plan and a loose structure and a dope ass podcast recording studio to use.
Yeah.
So,
You can't say we didn't come through crystal clear.
and I will give
ladies and
all
gents.
the props to Paige because we came into this podcast studio today and we were just going to record with our phones. And she said, no, we will make this equipment work. And she, without asking a professional, figured it out.
Mega genius.
And that's why she owns our company.
That's
Yeah.
unresourceful.
That's why she's not a CEO.
Thank you. That's actually
My
on
words
having
just jumbled together. CEO.
Oh,
I literally thought I said that earlier and I didn't apparently.
I was demoted.
It's a hard
No.
word. I demoted both of you in the one
Titles-
episode by accident.
Titles, who needs them?
Listen, man, I
Also-
forgot mine for a second.
Yeah.
Nerdy.
I've never met a title I didn't like, so it's fine. I just like having something in front of my name.
Yeah, I get
Doctor is
that.
next.
You're gonna go after
Oh.
school?
Green light. Do we write curriculum for a doctorate of social media? Who approves that? Who decides if that's real? The Education Board of America.
Sorry, I've heard.
I submit to the universe that we will. You know what? Self-decree. I am a doctor of social media.
You
so.
are. Dr.
That is
Page.
a part of your journey, Dr. Page.
That's her. To end our podcast today, tell me the one sound or trend that is stuck in your head.
All the food is poison. That one.
I like that one. Specifically mine is the dramatic production of corn.
Oh yeah,
It's
the Bon Iver one. Which, by the way, my fun fact for everyone is that they already know this. So, the corn song is the epitome of trends coming back around because Auto-Tune the News guys did.
Backing up.
Yes, that they were responsible for some of our seminal hits, such as the theme song for Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. I think
Yep.
they did that one.
And what was the other one? The hide your kids, hide
Hide
your
Your Kids,
wife.
Hide Your Wife, Backing Up. They are also responsible for the corn song. So therefore, the internet might change, but some things they stay the same, and that is that we just love a good auto-tune of something cute and trendy.
Well, things that are vintage are over 20 years old. We're hitting the mark where social is going to start to be around 20 years old. So it is going to be very interesting to start seeing how like these newly discovered trends that are actually nostalgic for us
Yeah.
as baby social users come back around. And I think it's going to be like, remember when the low-rise jeans started to come back in this year and we were like, oh, wow, you guys really made that work again. I can't wait to see what they grabbed from early
It's gonna be like
social
the OG
years and-
Instagram filters, like the ones Taylor Swift like ran right into the ground, you know,
Oh my
like the
gosh,
film
yeah.
ones. They're coming all the way back, baby.
I can't wait.
And if you want to know what is coming, that's why you should listen to this podcast because we'll be complaining about it first.
Hopefully, we should do a trend prediction segment
Oh.
where, like, if we think something's gonna pop off and it hasn't yet, we'll say it on here so that we have receipts when it does.
Yep. That's good.
I love that.
That's really good.
All right. Well, I think that was a beautiful first episode. We've hit the 30-minute mark, 40-minute mark, and
See it? Every Tuesday. No.
Nope.
I overcommitted. Every fourth Tuesday. First Tuesday of every
first
month.
Tuesday of every month, we're gonna release our podcast until we do it more.
And if
You're
I don't do that, if we don't release it,
No, we
no,
will.
we will.
Because consistency is what we're the best at.
Speak it into existence.
If you say it, it is.
If
We
the
can
It's
do-
Always Sunny podcast can start as
Yeah, we love that.
willy nilly as it did, then so can ours.
Exactly.
Everyone starts somewhere.
Producer
Today's the
Michaela, how do
Come
we
on.
end our episode?
We are going to end our episode on following our social media accounts. I know we've kind of gone over it already in this podcast, but follow us at Hive Connective on TikTok and Instagram. Feel free to DM us if you have any questions. We'll be posting stories, kind of asking for your questions or
Input
little
on future
stories.
topics.
Yeah, future topics, anything like that. But thanks for listening. Tune in again next time.
I also don't think you said what your trending song was stuck in your head.
Oh, ready? My trending sound is "Help Me." Gabby Hanna.
It's not funny. It is funny.
Oh, that's a whole other
So
episode.
you can tell what time we're in right now. Currently, the time of the trends.
I've got another thing to say, but it's
Say it.
I was watching The Boys this weekend, which the Amazon Prime show, which love. Just finished it though, and it's been out for a bit, but we were waiting to watch it. And I just finished it, and I realized that the very end of the finale is a TikTok sound that I didn't recognize at the time was from The Boys. Yeah, it was the one with the music. And okay, welcome to explaining a TikTok trend when you can't quite remember it. It's like the orchestral music, and then the guy's voice. What does he say though? Something like, the laugh. It's like that weird orchestra music, and then it's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
that one.
It was like I did the trend to that one where it was like when I figured out I could become a teacher's pet to all my teachers and they would pass me even though I was
I think
very
that's the sound I'm thinking
dysfunctionally-
of. Oh god,
Smart.
this is maybe wrong, but
No, I think that's it. I'll
anyway,
find
I heard it and I was like, oh my god, this is first I heard the music and I was like, this is a TikTok song, and then I realized I only knew the little bit of that song because of the TikTok. Talk about setting trends.
That is funny. I love when trends are
It's weird. It gets me good. I'm like,
revealed in the wild.
there it is.
We will link that
Yeah, we'll link
example of
Sorry, it's
the
confusing.
trend so you get a
There
feel
you
for it.
go.
I also, we don't have to use this. We can cut this, but I do want to make the statement that we can have like an anonymous confess your social media sins.
Oh yeah, we're gonna do that too.
Yeah.
And if you can voice box we'll read the story for you. You just send it in completely
Yeah.
anonymous, but things you
Totally.
can't even admit to your boss that you figured out or done in social.
Yeah,
you know
those TikToks of the Temple Run video game on the phone and the Reddit story being read over top.
Yes.
We can do that for you if you
Mhm.
want to confess something that you've done in social media that
Because we want to hear.
yeah.
We want to hear.
I know you have one. I know that you backdated a post on Facebook so you wouldn't get in trouble.
Or
Yep.
post it
I
on
did
the
that.
wrong account
Yeah.
for a different client.
That'll happen. Or post
etc.
a client's stuff on your account
have
then
to
have
delete
your
it real
boss
fast.
respond 2 hours later and word, knowing damn well that the content was meant for the client's account, and you go, oh yeah, that wasn't.
Did I do that?
Yeah, it was.
Oh, that's good.
It's really embarrassing for me.
I love that.
Word.
Or your personal stuff on the client's account. On a story.
Yeah.
Take down.
But I'm talking even worse than that. Those were just base level.
Yeah.
I want to hear. Some
Give us the
shit.
real tea.
Yeah, we won't judge you.
I have one.
We're here
I
for
have
you.
one I know about. I actually can't say it on the podcast because it would indict someone, but
Well, you're gonna tell us after.
it involves. I actually can't.
Okay, we're gonna cut this part, but we
don't
could
know. Don't-
write it in.
Don't
Yeah.
say it in case
As
we
an
forget to
anonymous.
cut it out because I want to.
Oh, well,
After hours, if you want to hear that story,
you gotta come hang out with us.
you have to pay an admission fee so that I
on
can
our
make you
Patreon.
sign an NDA. on our Patreon that's not made yet, but
For
apparently we
$3
want.
a month, you can sign up for Patreon.
And then I'll tell you the story of the Twitter gone rogue.
Oh gosh. All right. If
Okay.
you can't tell, all three of us have ADHD.
We should have just started by
Should
saying
have started with that, but I'm excited to see where this goes. And if anything, I'm going to listen to us because
Me too.
I think we're funny. Ha ha ha. Thanks for listening.
that. Bye.
Bye.
See ya.